It is Football Friday, September 19th. I'm Scott Seidenberg. Here's what you need to know to make today a better day. The Miami Dolphins gave it the old college try last night, but still came up short against the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo does not cover, though. 31-21 is the final. The game does go over. And we have to get to all of this Sunday's NFL games with injuries playing a role in the spreads. Jared Smith joins me on this episode of Better Day, presented by FanDuel. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you haven't done so already, make sure you follow and subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts from. Leave us a rating and a review as well, as it goes a long way into helping us grow. All right, Jared, let's talk about that game last night as the Buffalo Bills get the win, not the cover, though, against the Miami Dolphins, and I thought Miami had multiple opportunities to steal this game and really send shockwaves throughout the survivor pools with everybody picking the Buffalo Bills, but it was the running into the kicker, roughing the kicker penalty that certainly cost them the game, and even with that, they were moving the football with a chance to tie it or maybe take the lead, who knows if they score and go for two, and Tua with one of the more brain-dead interceptions that you're going to find on a serious drive. And all I tweeted out last night was, Tua gonna Tua. And there's really no other explanation. It's just Tua's gonna Tua. And maybe this is the guy that he is, and he's not going to change, Jared.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I didn't really see this as close of a game as you did. I think the score line was obviously close. They covered, but it felt like the Dolphins were a cat toy and the Bills were just kind of pawing at them for most of the night. They just they got close and then they hit him away, and then they got close and then they hit him away. Like, that's kind of how I felt. Like, this game was clearly, there was a hammer and a nail, and yes, the nail fought valiantly. It landed some punches for sure. I thought they had a really good scripted drive to start the game, and that kind of set the tone. And they were 8 of 10 on third downs in the first half, which is like, it's like when you get up to the craps table and you just keep hitting hard eights, like 4, 5, 6, 7 times. Very hard to do that, to go 8 of 10 on third downs in the half. They finished the night 10 for 15 on third downs. So that, again, like, that's just a very difficult thing to predict on most nights, that you're going to pick up all those third downs. So Tua made some nice throws. But again, net success rate, Buffalo was a plus 14%. Yards per play, 6.3 to 4.7. Tua had the big mistake. They had another big mistake on special teams. I know they covered the spread, but if the Bills kicker makes that field goal in the first half, they probably don't. And it just kind of felt like Buffalo was really in control the whole night, and it was just a matter of how many points they were going to win by.
Yeah, that first drive was, man, it was a great drive by Miami. And yesterday on the program, we gave out the first of the newest bets, which is the team to convert a fourth down on their opening drive. And the Dolphins, it was plus 1140 for
Great
last
bet.
night's game.
That is a fun bet. Fourth down conversions are up. That's a good one.
Yeah, and so, well, if you missed the program yesterday, go back and listen to it, because we gave you all the handicap details on why this is becoming the trend, and I identified the games that we are going to play them this week, the Dolphins being one of them with the trends that we gave out, and the next time we are going to play this, you could play it with the Cleveland Browns coming up on Sunday. We'll get into that, but I absolutely will. My favorite play is the Sunday night game, the New York Giants. And again, we're getting like plus 1,200 on those odds for them to convert a fourth down on the opening drive. But think about this.
Nice.
Okay. And here's for those of you who might have missed the podcast yesterday, I'll sum it up real quick. Obviously, we know about fourth down conversions going up. We looked around every sports book and couldn't find any bets on the amount of fourth down conversions. The only bet that we did find, which was on DraftKings, was the team to convert a fourth down on their opening drive. And so that was the bet that we gave out for the game tonight, or the game last night, which was the Miami Dolphins plus 1140. And if you go back to the start of last season, 469 fourth down decisions on opening drives. Teams went for it 74 times. That's 1 in 6.8 or 6.3, right? So 1 in 7 times teams are going for it on the fourth down on their opening drives. The Bills, 7 attempts out of 16 decisions. The Dolphins, 3 attempts out of 14 decisions. So we felt that last night there was going to be a fourth down conversion on the opening drive. The Dolphins, Jared, converted 3rd and 1 twice on their opening
Yep.
drive. Can I get one stop? Can I get one tackle? Because you knew they weren't kicking
No.
a field goal. You knew they were going to go for it on
No.
4th down. The 3rd and
Those
goal,
are so
that's where
I love that angle. I do. I love the angle from a talking point perspective. I think from a gambling perspective, it is an absolute crapshoot that you're going to get it on the first drive.
sure,
I
listen,
think overall
it's
macro, it is a
plus
really
1,200
good
for a
angle.
reason. It's
Yes,
plus
exactly.
1,200. These
100%.
aren't, you're not putting a full unit. You're not even putting a quarter unit on this
No,
thing.
no,
Yeah, this is
no,
just,
you're not.
this is something
You're
that,
putting
listen,
point one units.
I think out of what Mackenzie and I said was we're going to hit 3 of these this season. Like
Yeah, you'll probably hit a few this year.
we're going to hit
The
we're
reason
going to
that
hit
I
a couple of
like the
these.
4th down on the first drive is because it's scripted, and they have a really good sense of what they're running and what they're in early in the
Mhm.
game, and they feel more confident in those calls. So I do like it better on the first drive. I think that's a good. I honestly think you are
Well,
going to hit some of those this year.
you got to identify your spots. And for the Dolphins, and even Kirk Herbstreit was saying this on the broadcast last night, you're not going to win. You're not going to beat the Buffalo Bills by kicking field goals. They knew on
No.
that first drive, if there was a 4th down attempt, they were going for it, right? Because
Yes.
that's the strategy against the Buffalo Bills. So when they got to the 3rd and goal, and I'm saying, oh my goodness, just stop Ollie Gordon one time, and they're going to go for it on 4th down, because that's another way. Hey, if you get a fourth down touchdown, that counts. That's a 4th down conversion.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the way that I was hoping that would cash last night. The reason why I love it in the Giants game is because, one, the Giants are home. I do think home teams are more likely to go for it on a 4th down early because the crowd's going to cheer. They're going to get behind you. Plus, you have that luxury of if you miss it, you're likely pinning the other team deep in their own territory with your own crowd noise, trying to create some havoc for that offense. So I think a coach like Brian Daboll would be more likely to go for it. Plus, Giants are a desperate team going up against the Kansas City Chiefs. You're telling me Brian Dable is going to kick a field goal on 4th and 3 inside the red zone on the opening drive
I
of the
mean, he
game?
might. The problem is that it's a conversion and not an attempt. I think I
Yes,
would like that bet better on the attempt side
sure.
than the conversion side.
Yeah,
Because I think the attempt captures the full weight of that angle, whereas the conversion you still have to get lucky on the
yeah.
play
Got to
and
catch the
convert
play.
it. Yeah, so I'd be interested to see what the odds were for the attempt. Now maybe the odds are so much less that it's not as fun, but
There's,
I'd be
there's this
interested
is
in what the
this
odds
is the
were.
only bet that we can find across every sports
Yeah,
book.
it's a tough. I would imagine it's a tough market to find. I would
Now,
imagine it's a tough.
like this will be a great bet when, and I was hoping for primetime games they would open stuff like this because you see it in the Super Bowl all the time, like over under 2.5 4th down conversions or something like that. Like what like you see it
Yeah,
all the time, and even by the
yeah.
way,
Usually in the Super Bowl they have more markets available.
yeah,
They have more
but even
time to
like
book the games.
look at the stats last night. I mean, there was the Dolphins were 1 of 1 on 4th down, so
Yeah.
they
Bills didn't even attempt one. I'll be honest.
they didn't have
I
to.
think the Bills. I think the Bills could have won that game in their sleep last night. I honestly do.
Yeah,
I think they were just. It was so easy for Josh Allen. The Dolphins were so banged up defensively. That man is an absolute rock star. It is fun to watch him play the quarterback position. I'm not going to say that he's better than Mahomes because I'm not on that level yet, but I think
hmm
he's right there in terms of his creativity and how he sees the field and how he controls the line of scrimmage. I think he's right there.
Bills Super Bowl. I mean, come on, Bills Packers,
I
right?
mean, listen, if it's Bills Chiefs in the AFC Championship game, and even if the game's in Buffalo, who are you betting on? You betting on the Chiefs as a dog, or are you betting on the Bills?
It's the Bills' year. I'm not backing off of it. It's the Bills'
Okay.
year. This is
And
their year.
listen, I can't argue with vibes. But I can tell you what I would do in that scenario. If I'm catching 3 with the Chiefs in that game, I'm taking 3. I'm taking 3. I would rather lose with Mahomes than
Yeah.
lose fading him. I can look myself in the mirror the next day, and we're obviously flash forwarding 6 months from now. Who knows what the game's going to really be? But I would rather lose with Mahomes than lose against him. I can look myself in the mirror the next day and say, you went down with Mahomes as a dog.
Yeah.
I feel good about that.
Well, another favorite wins, and that makes favorites 24-9 straight up to start the season this year. And honestly, some of those losses are like coin flip games where the line was like 1 or 1.5, or we had a flip of the favorite, or like the Broncos Colts game or the Dolphins Patriots game. So really, I mean, favorites are just absolutely dominating. Like Ravens Bills too. That was a 1 point game. So I mean, the favorites are just what a season, what a year it's been. I mean, what going back to last year, favorites are dominant, which is why like I laugh at all these like social media content creators. I just want to put something out and be like, guys, I got a model that is cashing right now at 72% this NFL season.
That's actually really funny.
Here's what it
You
is.
should do that. You should
Here's what it
absolutely do
here's what it is. Here's what it is.
that.
Vegas makes a line on the game. Jeff Benson and the guys over at Circa, they make a line on the game. And here's what we're going to do. Whatever team they say is the favorite, that's who my model picks to win.
Don't even
Bang.
say favorite. Say whatever team they think is supposed to win.
Yes,
You
yes.
have to frame it. You have to say it in like the most idiotic way possible.
Whatever team they think is going to win, that's my model. And so far this season, bro, 72%, bro. 72%. What?
Bro, that is if you don't
we
do
went
that,
1 and 0
going to,
last
so you
night.
better
We
do it.
went
You
1 and
better
0
do
last
it.
night. This model's undefeated. Week 3, we undefeated. We 1 and 0. $99 in the
Maybe you
Discord.
should get
Boom.
into satire. Maybe you should get into satire and get away from the actual real analysis, but get into gambling satire. That was great. That was
Shout
great.
out Dolphins covering the spread. Let's go. We move on. And now let's talk about the rest of week 3, and we'll get into the Sunday games. A lot of injury news, Jared, that's going to shake up these markets. We don't have an official word on Jaden Daniels just yet, but he didn't practice again. I don't think he plays. The market doesn't think that Jaden Daniels plays. Seeing the line right now between Washington and Vegas, with Washington as a 3.5-point favorite, if it's Marcus Mariota, and that line possibly resets back to 3, what's your take on the game? Who are you taking?
It's a good question. I was looking at it earlier. I actually have Mariota as a pretty high backup, one of my highest, right there with Browning and Trubisky. You know, those guys are basically starters in the NFL. Like I think, I would argue that Mariota's the starter on the Jets right now. Maybe the starter on the Saints right now, right? Like, so I don't think it's like a massive drop off, but obviously it's a drop off because Jaden Daniels does so much more than Marcus does. I think they're actually similar quarterbacks. I think this Marcus is like a poor man's version of it. They both have enough mobility to get by. Jaden obviously has more breakaway speed. I think Marcus was much faster in his prime. I think he's like a decade older. But you do have the ability to move with your legs. So I think you won't completely eliminate that. I'll be honest. This was a tough game to handicap because I was high on the Raiders, and we're kind of getting to the point where you have to ditch your preseason priors and you have to go with what you're looking at. And they're on a short week. They're traveling east, early body clock game, and they got bodied by the Chargers on Monday night. But they also played well against New England. So tough travel, right? To New England, back to Vegas, now to DC. It kind of feels like you want to, let this number, you want to let the Jaden Daniels news hit the screen, and then you want to get Washington at the best price possible. Like that's kind of the gut instinct I have, but I'm probably not going to play the game, at least not right now.
That's exactly my take. Is you wait until the Jaden Daniels news. Say that 10 times fast. You wait till it becomes public. This line's going to go down, and then the bet is the Commanders. I think the Commanders will play. Marcus Mariota can win this game
at a solid 3.
Marcus Mariota can win this game. I think he does win this game. I'm willing to take it at 2.5 or 3. Obviously, you're not going to do it at 3.5. But I would certainly wait for that number because it is going to change once the news becomes public. And I do think it's concerning that the guy got hurt last Thursday and is still not practicing a week later. And so I don't think that we see Jaden Daniels play at quarterback here.
I agree. That is a good take because they did play the Thursday game. If they played the Sunday game, I'd feel a little differently about it. And our pal Fez, I did the Bet US show yesterday. Our pal Fez, we were talking about this with the Brock Purdy situation because that line moved during our show.
Yeah.
The market rarely gets this stuff wrong. Like if the market's kind of shading in one direction, it typically gets this kind of stuff right.
Hmm.
Now it doesn't, of course, there's always exceptions, but I would agree based off of that theory and that the market is really telling us that this one's heading towards 3.
I would agree, and that's the play for me. Is I would be on Washington at the reduced number here. Let's get into some of the other games here for this weekend, and let's talk about the Packers and the Browns. We all know how much you love the Green Bay Packers. The Browns 0-2. They would fall into this incredible trend, which is 0-2 teams in week number 3 covering the spread. So if you look since the start of the 20, like I always do 2021, so we'll just give you those numbers just real quick. If you are a winless team, so you are 0-2, and it is week number 3, and you are the underdog, you are covering at an incredible rate this season. Why is that not popping up? Am I in the wrong sport here? We'll try this again. As we'll get you these numbers. Anyway, the Dolphins applied as one of these
Yeah, they covered.
0-2 dogs, and they covered. So in
And
week
the
number
irony is,
3,
if they didn't start 0-3, if they actually played like they had a pulse the first few weeks, and this game was like 7.5 or 8.5, they would have lost. They
sure.
wouldn't have covered tonight.
So with the Dolphins covering since the 2021 season, you are 14-7-1 against the spread. So that is over 65%. But let's go back to the 2012 season. 49-27-1. Again, about a 65% ATS trend here going back years. And that is 0-2 teams in week number 3 as the underdog covering. And so
Here's my question, though.
mhm.
And this is always where the trends can be difficult. How many of these teams were like the really bad teams and they were like 10 point dogs? And how many of them were pick 'em +1, +2, +3 teams that just got off to a little bit of a slow start, but are good teams at their core? Like that,
That's
I
a
would be
fair point.
interested in what the spread would be, what the cover rate for the dogs would be when it's a 7 point spread or higher, like over
So
a touchdown.
tremendous point. So if you are a touchdown or higher underdog since 2012, the 0-2 teams, only 12-10 ATS.
So that's my point here is you kind of are what your record says you are to an extent
Mm-hmm.
where the Dolphins still at their peak are a playoff team. And they showed you glimpses of that tonight. Do we feel that way about the Cleveland Browns? Do we feel that way about the Tennessee Titans, another one of these 0-2 dogs? Do we feel that way about the New York Jets? Right? Like those are the games where I'm like, you might be the worst team in the league, so show me that you can cover first before I'm actually going to put my money on you. Like I fell into the trap with the Jets last week. I mean, goodness freaking gracious. So that's where I get scared with these trends. And I'm not saying that they don't have value in certain situations, but I think context does matter.
I agree. So I have no interest in betting the Browns ever. I just think,
Yeah, I'm laying it with the Packers. Get a 7, baby. Come on. Come on
like,
board the Packers crate, Scott. There's still room on board for you. They are the best team in the NFL. They are the best team in the NFL right now.
I was talking to the guy I split my big money fantasy football team with, right? Christian McCaffrey, and we are, and
That is that's a top tier name right there. That's an elite
yeah,
name.
and we're 2-0 right now. Now, when I say big money, this is just like stupid to pay for fantasy football. How much money that is in the league? Like
Wow.
that's
See,
why.
I quit fantasy like 3 years ago. I'm doing it now. I'm doing a free league this year with my fellow football coaches, but I quit doing serious fantasy a
No,
while
I
ago.
mean,
I
look,
couldn't keep track of it.
there's a reason why I split it with somebody. Let's just say it's like we're
Sure, sure,
doing
sure.
it's basically like doing a Circa Millions contest for fantasy football. Anyway, he wanted to start the Browns tight end this week. What's his name? Hannafin?
Njoku? Oh no, the
No,
rookie
yes,
Fannin. Oh, I love him.
Fannin,
He's a
Harold
stud.
Fannin,
He's a
Harold
stud.
Fannin,
He's a
right?
stud. He's a
And I
stud.
and my argument was just like, I don't care that like the kid's getting a good snap share. I don't care that
Yeah.
he's like running routes as a wide receiver or whatever. I wouldn't bet the Cleveland Browns with your money. Like it's just I want nothing to do with this team. Joe Flacco's not going to be the quarterback much longer. And hey, maybe when Dylan Gabriel takes over, like this offense will show some
That I
things.
agree with. Dylan Gabriel's more of the guy you'd want in for Fanning.
Yeah,
He's more of the
but
completions guy, where Flacco's going to take shots.
with Flacco, I really think that we are and Flacco was serviceable for the past couple of years, right? He comes in, does decent job with the Colts, but I think Flacco is really starting to show his age. Mother Nature and Father Time are undefeated, and we are starting to see a significant decline in Joe Flacco. And I want no part of this Cleveland Browns team with him at quarterback.
Father Time and Mother Earth are undefeated in the
Father Time and Mother Nature. Yeah,
Father Time and Mother Earth. I love it. So here's my take on this Browns team. They battled last week, right? They got dominated. Here's why they got dominated. They gave up a blocked punt return, which ended up on a quick score, short field, quick score. And then Flacco threw, I think, another pick, and they had another fumble. They had 2 turnovers that directly led to 2 touchdown drives for Baltimore. So you can make the case that of the 41 points Baltimore scored, 21 of them were just quick change, turnover type scores that were really not their offense as much as their defense, special teams setting it up. Cleveland's defense held Baltimore down. 4.6 yards per play on that Ravens defense. They shut down Derrick Henry. Can they raise their level another week? Like, it's tough to raise that level consecutive weeks against elite teams when you yourself are a bad team. And I think that's where if the bottom falls off and you brought it against your division rival and you don't bring it this week and Green Bay smells blood, this one could get ugly. It could.
Rested team coming off of the Thursday night game last week. I agree. This one could get ugly. By the way, Joe Flacco, the 28th lowest QBR so far through 2 weeks in the NFL. Not great, Bob. Not great.
No.
All right, let's move on. Colts are at the Titans. Indy is a 4.5-point favorite here on the road. We have seen all the Colts love because of how good that they have looked in these first 2 games. Dare I say, Jared, part of me wants to bet the Titans this week. You're feels
crazy.
like
they're the worst team in the league.
Okay.
Right now.
But
they might cover. I mean, obviously anyone can cover on any given day, but I think they're worse than New Orleans right now. I do.
Okay. It feels to me like the stock can't get any higher for the Indianapolis Colts.
I agree with that.
And if we looked at this line before, like in the summer, the Colts aren't laying. I mean, the Colts aren't laying 5 points on the road here in Tennessee. It's just they're not. So I think there's been an overreaction a little bit. Now, have they played great? Has Danny Dimes played great? Has Cam Ward, okay. Listen, it's not, I don't think it's going to be on my Circa Millions entry, but part of me is intrigued by the Titans this week.
I get it. It is definitely the ugly dog. But you got to give me at least a touchdown if you want me to bet on this Tennessee team right now. Again, and it's just because I think they are honestly, I think Cam Ward, he's not seeing the field. That's the problem. Second straight week. And I know the Rams defense is good, but I don't think it's that good. Second straight week for them giving up 4 yards or not exceeding 4 yards per play. That's just tough. I think you really need to see more from Cam. And again, it's early in his career. Maybe he improves. But 11 sacks in 2 games, and he's dead last in passing success rate at 30%. The next lowest quarterback in the NFL is 39. So he is, again, the worst performing quarterback in the NFL through 2 games. And we're at that point now, right? 2 weeks in, it's tough to really bank on priors. We thought New Orleans was going to be the worst team in the league. That's not what the stats are telling us. Right now, the stats are telling us it's Tennessee. So until I see a performance that indicates otherwise, tough to take anything less than a touchdown with this team. It really is.
If you want the Titans, grab the +4.5 at FanDuel. That is your best bet. We are down to 4 at some books, down to 3.5 at a couple of others.
Beautiful. Give me the Colts -3.5. I feel that's a bet I'm going to make.
Ugly dog.
Listen, I will be I would rather lose with the chalk than bet on these bad teams. When I watch these bad teams, I want to pull my freaking hair out. I want to pull my freaking hair out watching Cam Ward run around and be a nut job in the pocket and take 10 sacks in 2 games. Like, That's not the side I want to lose with. Even if it's like the quote unquote sharp side, I'd rather see it with my eyes first that he can
Hmm.
play in this league before I'm going to actually put my stake that he
Yeah.
can't.
Here's one that we gave out earlier in the week, a play on, and the market has agreed with us. And that is the game between the two backup quarterbacks, the Bengals at the Vikings. We gave out the over 41. It's already up to 42 and a half. Lines right now is what we're seeing. Let's look at some of the sharp books here on this game. We got circa at -3. So that is and it's -3 pretty much across the board. There is a 2.5 ESPN bet. Interesting. But primarily Minnesota -3 with a total of 42 and a half. I think both of these quarterbacks are going to be able to score some points. I really think so. We saw Jake
Hmm.
Browning go 4-3 as the starter when he took over for Burrow. This offense, we know what they're capable of. Defensively, they're trash. And Carson Wentz is going to be able to move the football. The Minnesota
Mm.
Vikings have not gotten good quarterback play, right? JJ McCarthy's played one good quarter of football. Like, this is still a very talented team. I think that, like, Justin Jefferson has done nothing this year. He finally, like, he got like one monster catch, which was like at the end of the game, right? Or at the end of the half, where he had like the 50-yard catch that set up a field goal and like it skewed his numbers. I think we know that Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase always like to one up each other whenever like they're playing on prime time and the next one's playing on prime
Oh yeah,
time.
that's a
Like,
good point. I bet on
no, that
both of them to score. I feel like that's
yeah,
a good parlay for you this week.
literally
Because
that's
if
a
one of
thing.
them scores, the other one's going to want to score.
But literally, Jared, that's a thing. Like if you go back and
I
you
agree.
watch when they are
These
on
receivers are freaking divas, man. They're all divas. They all want it's me, me, me. We've seen it
go
back to To and Chad Johnson.
go back and track when they're on primetime games in consecutive weeks. So let's say
Interesting.
if the Bengals play on a Thursday night and then the
Sure.
Vikings are on that Sunday night, or if the Bengals play on the Monday night and then the Vikings play on the Thursday night, vice versa, there is a competition between these two, and it always happens. They go to one up each other. So I think that you're right. I think both of them score touchdowns. I think both of them have monster games. This game's going over. That's my best bet on this game.
Fascinating angle. Super low total too. I mean, listen, you can always sell me on an over when the Bengals defense is playing. You don't have to twist my arm too much unless it's like, some junior varsity quarterback out there. And even if it is, I still might get to the window on it. I mean, listen, the Jaguars were marching it up and down. The Jaguars should have dropped 40 easily on Cincinnati last week. Trevor Lawrence threw two boneheaded interceptions, one of them in the end zone. It's just that was one of the most fugazi results of the season. And of course, I was on the wrong side of it last week. And we talked about it. I don't maybe it was me, maybe it was me and someone else. I forget if I talked about it with you. But the decision for Liam Cohen to kick the field goal, or to not kick the field goal and go for the win in the fourth quarter and not go up 6, I actually agreed with it
Mm.
because it was correct analytically speaking, and I can go into the reasons why. But regardless, Cincinnati had no business covering that game. And I think that actually does give you some inflated value on Minnesota. And Carson Wentz and Browning are kind of the same. I have Browning a point better than Wentz. So you're telling me that the Bengals absolutely have the worst defense in this matchup. Like that's without question. The quarterbacks are relatively even. Minnesota gets home field, and you're only laying 3. And you saw how tough that home field was. And I know Penix controlled the game because Minnesota couldn't move it, but that home field in Minnesota is a factor. And I think anything less than a field goal, you got to lay with Minnesota here.
I agree. I'd be on Minnesota. My best bet was on the over, but I would certainly
Yeah, I
be
think both are
on.
good.
Yeah, I think both are the right play here for me. And I'm just looking. I wanted to see real quick if I can identify like an exact spot here for the two of these guys when they went back and forth. And it was, I think, let's see, was this a primetime game for JJ? No, that was an early game. But in the same week, there was a prime. Jefferson goes for, let's see, Jefferson goes for 100 and where is this? Chase, the Monday night goes for 118 yards and 2 touchdowns in week number 3 last year. Okay. And then it was the day after Jefferson went for 81 and a touchdown. Then
Hmm.
the next week, Jefferson goes for 85 and a touchdown. So it's like they sandwich each
Touchdown
other.
parlay.
Yeah, I think we're gonna
Jefferson
get
and
that.
Chase. I mean, I'm sure you'll get a good price on it, right? They're both probably right around even odds or somewhere in that range, I would bet. It's a low
You're gonna have
total
to lay
game,
it.
so maybe they'd be better than that.
This is the one. This is the one I'm looking for. So the Sunday, Chase goes for 132 and 2 touchdowns. That Monday night, Jefferson goes for 177 and 2 touchdowns. So that was last
Interesting.
year at the end, like the end of this in this in
So then that's what you've got to bet. You got to bet.
yeah
You got to parlay the first touch or the anytime touchdown. Chase is minus 105. Jefferson is plus 125. I'm doing this at BetMGM right now. That's plus 360. But then you've also got to parlay the 2 touchdown prop as well. I don't know where you can
ooh
find that. I don't see it at BetMGM. Let me see if I can find it at FanDuel. Because that will probably be. I mean, that's woo boy. I mean, like, listen, if it's a shootout game, right? If your
yeah.
handicap is this game is going to be a shootout, which means both teams are getting to the mid to high
All right,
20s.
here we go. You ready?
Yep.
Official same game parlay sprinkle sprinkle. We'll call this a sprinkle for Sunday's game between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Minnesota Vikings on the FanDuel Sportsbook.
Oh
You
man,
will
I'm
be
on it
betting.
now.
You will be betting Justin Jefferson to score 2 touchdowns and Jamar Chase to score 2 touchdowns at plus 9,383 odds, meaning your $10 wager will win $938. Who's
Wow.
coming with me?
You have to do it.
Who's
I mean, I,
coming
I
with
think
me?
honestly, if you get one of them early, you're gonna be. It's kind of like when I always go back to the craps table references. Like you've got you build a nice little stack because you keep hitting numbers, and then all of a sudden, like the way I play it, I go across, and it's like got like $20 on, or I start with like $25 across, and then all of a sudden you win and you press, and you got like all of a sudden it's like a couple rolls later, a couple
Yeah.
points later, you got like $100 on each one. It's like you're loaded up across the board. You just need one of these numbers to hit, and you are making big time bank. So I feel like that's a really fun bet. I would absolutely bet that.
It's always hilarious whenever you're playing craps and like you're on that hot streak, you're winning some stuff and like you keep getting the
Yeah.
chips back, but then all of a sudden like when the 7 comes out and they take all your money, you don't realize how much money you have
How
on the
much you
table.
lost? That was on exactly. It's like
And
all of a
you're like,
sudden you're like, I had like $500 on the table right there. I didn't even realize
yeah, you're
it.
like, wow, you're like, I'm up. I just won so much money. And you're like, you idiot, you just lost 1,000 on that one roll. Like, what? That doesn't make any sense. Look at all these chips I have in front of me. That's why bubble craps is fun because you can see the number on the screen and just press to clear all your bets and then take all your money. It's a lot of fun. But you'll never convince me that it's not rigged. Okay, moving on. It's kind of like some people in the NFL. The Falcons
Yeah.
take on the Falcons take on the Panthers. Carolina, 5.5 point home underdogs. Would you be inclined to bet on Carolina, or does this fall under your I don't want to bet bad teams?
I'm there right now.
Okay.
Carolina's defense looks like they're bad again. Atlanta looks like they have one of the best defenses in the league. That was a dominant performance against Minnesota. Plus 3 turnovers, 6 sacks. They only allowed 1 trip to the red zone, and they were themselves only 1 for 5 in the red zone. They had to settle for a lot of field goals. Penix needs to tighten things up a little bit, but the run game looks really solid. Like I don't know what you take away with Atlanta right now. I think Penix is a really good play action quarterback. I think Zach Robinson has a really good script, and they've got weapons on the outside. And I don't trust this Carolina defense. I mean, Arizona was, pedal down in that game, and
Mm-hmm.
then they just took their foot off the throttle and they let Carolina back in it, and they were able to get through the back door. But don't let that result fool you because I think Carolina was thoroughly dominated in that game. Bryce Young, accuracy issue, 60% completion rate, minus 6% CPOE through 2 games. So again, he hasn't cleaned up some of those things that we wanted him to fix. Now, Ted McMillan looks like a rock star, but I
Yeah.
think Atlanta takes that away. And I think they make Carolina beat them in other ways. And I think this pass rush for the Falcons is legit.
Yeah, the defense has been probably the most impressive part of this team so far has been their defense. All right, Steelers are at the Patriots, Pittsburgh, laying 1.5.
Mm.
It feels like the Patriots are an attractive teaser leg.
Yeah. I think this game gives me under vibes a little bit. Pittsburgh's
which
defense
is
has played
which is why
terrible.
getting 7.5 feels great.
Agreed. I do think the pick 'em, right? It was 1 and -1. Like, this is one of those games. What did our pal Fez say? Just let the sports books decide who wants to
Yeah.
be the favorite, and you tease the other side. But from like a game script perspective, you had both of these teams come off really frantic games, right? Pittsburgh's
Mm.
defense, very uncharacteristic through the first two games, looked like a bottom half unit. I expected Aaron Rodgers to grade out as average. He is average so far through the first 2 weeks. Did not expect Pittsburgh to be bottom 10 defensively and really struggling against the run. I think there's some holes there, but I do think the sum of their parts are better than the stats. I think they'll play a little better defensively. And New England was in that really weird game last week, and I don't think that's the games they want to play. I don't think they want to play games 33-27. I think they want to play games 21-17. And they want to be a tough-nosed defensive team with Vrabel, and they want Drake May to not make the big mistake and be kind of a
Yeah.
guy that controls the tempo. So that's how I feel about these two teams, but we haven't seen it yet reflect on the scoreline. And I think eventually we'll get one of those games. Now, maybe again, need to take my own medicine here, and maybe Pittsburgh's defense sucks. And maybe New England's defense has a lot of work to do. But I still think both of those teams are well coached enough to where they'll give us some gritty efforts. So I think under 44.5 is a key total. I think that's an under game for me, 44.5.
I could lean that way as well. It seems like, and again, that's kind of why I want to tease the Patriots up, because I do think it has the potential to be a much lower scoring game. Rams are at the Eagles. This is a rematch of a playoff game we saw last year in the snow where the Rams were driving to win the game. So obviously revenge on their minds. Eagles 3.5-point favorites right now up on FanDuel, total of 44.5, and so much talk about the tush push. The latest that we are hearing is that the NFL is actually telling the officials to call it more tightly. I don't know how they're going to do that. Do we think, like if I set a line, Jared, and I said, hey, my plus 250 that there is a flag thrown on a tush push play this week, would
Oh,
you bet?
minus 250 now. If they're telling them to call it tight, we're going to see a flag. There is a penalty on every single one of those plays. Now,
Yeah, it's either
you can
either a
argue about
false
which
start,
side is committing the penalty.
yeah, false start or lining up in the neutral zone. Yes.
But it feels like I would say the over on half of those plays that have probably taken place in the NFL. I don't know how many of them there's been, probably like around 100 or so. I'd be willing to bet that over 50 of them have had a penalty that just is unable to be officiated because of the massive humanity that is being pushed into each other on that play. Listen, and I'm not an Eagles hater at all. I bet on them to win the Super Bowl last year. I'm not an Eagles hater. That play has become like the politics of sports. It's very polarizing, which means there's going to be some kind of action taken, and probably it'll get banned. Probably will.
It was close this year. The vote was close.
Yeah.
I think I want to bet the Rams in this one. I know it's so hard.
I did bet the Rams in this one.
It's so hard betting against the Eagles, but I think that if the league is doing this, like this could be just my way of, hey, I'm kind of getting creative here, or maybe I'm a little loopy as to thinking about this from a weird angle. But if it comes down to a key spot, and it is a 4th and 1 or a 3rd and 1, where the Eagles line up for the tush push, there's going to be a crucial flag that negates that first down.
Totally
and
agree.
therefore taking away what is their ultimate strength and could be taking away a deciding moment in the game, whether it's getting a first down to extend the clock or getting a first down or getting a touchdown. It's going to be negated by a penalty. I want to be on the opposite side of that. I want to be on the Rams.
And that's why you also bet the under in the game, because for the first time, it's not automatic 4th and 1. There's some doubt there. And I think the game script for me is the Rams defense has played really well the first 2 weeks. They've held both opponents to sub 40% success rates. They're second in EPA per play. And Chris Shula's done a really good job. Very young defensive line. They came on strong in the second half last year, made the playoffs. This was one of the 3 0-2 teams that made the playoffs last year. And it's because they were really young defensively and they kind of grew into themselves on that side of the ball. We know how good Stafford is. Obviously, Adams is an upgrade over Kupp. But I think defensively, they're going to be able to take away the run, and they're going to make Hurts throw it. And I don't think he's really good at that right now. And on the other side, Fangio's probably watching that game film from the playoffs last year. Stafford touched him up. I mean, Stafford was really good in that game, and they were close to winning it. And I think Fangio will make the proper adjustments and will play his typical zone shell, and it's going to be a real slugfest. It feels like a slugfest kind of game, 20
Yeah.
to 17 kind of final.
And if you're giving me over a hook, I'm gladly going to take it. 3.5. I'm
Agreed.
gladly going to take it with the
And
Los
over the
Angeles.
key of 44, I'm taking the under.
Yep. Sweet. All right, Jets are at the Bengals. Jets are at the Bucks, excuse me, and the Bucks are down now multiple offensive linemen. Tampa's laying 6.5 at home. I love the Bucks. I love Bucky. I love Baker. I love Ibuka. Are the injuries too much here in this game?
Very tough handicap because you also have the Fields to Taylor factor, where I actually think the Jets might play better under Tyrod Taylor, or at least in the short term.
I don't disagree.
And so I think right, like we talked about the games of the good teams against the bad teams and how I'm not going to fall into the just, bet the dog blindly trap. I do think there are certain spots where I would bet the dog. This is one of them. Now, I haven't yet, but the thing that really pushes me towards it is, like you said, Tampa's banged up. They're on a short week, and the Jets are desperate, right? And I know every team is desperate at 0-2. So are the Titans, and so are the Panthers, and so are these other teams. But again, those other teams have much higher hills to climb because they're not facing a banged-up team on a short week. So I think that's where I would take a touchdown with the Jets, and it looks like you can get 7 in a couple spots, a soft 7. But I have this thing about the Jets, Scott, as a fan. It's really hard for me to bet on this team. I did it last week, and I'm very scarred. So I think the Jets are the side, though, if you're going to bet it.
Listen, when you've been a Jets fan as long as we have, there's just
I didn't even know you're a Jets fan, too, so you know all about it.
Jared, there's no more hurt left. Like
they went 0 for 11 on third downs last week, and we talked about the culture thing. Culture is not getting yelled at on the sidelines after you screw up.
Of course.
Culture happens during the week and in practice. And Aaron Glenn yelling at, I think it was Michael Clemens, I forget the defensive lineman. On the first drive of the game, he committed the late hit on Josh Allen that kept the third down alive, and it gave Buffalo eventually a touchdown. They would have kicked the field goal, and it didn't matter. They won by 20. They would have won by, 16 instead? But I said, well, this is the new Aaron Glenn culture, right? Yelling at people on the sidelines after they make dumb penalties and giving up points. And I had a Jets fan slide into my mentions and say, no, well, Salah would have given him a high five, and this is Salah's fault. And I'm like, how are you blaming the coach from last year for something that happened on the field this year? And he said that this is culture. He's building a culture. And I'm thinking to myself, you don't build a culture by screaming at players on game day. It happens during the week so you don't commit those boneheaded penalties. And I know we're 2 weeks in, but haven't seen the Jets turn that corner yet with their new head coach.
Nope. And I know Quinn Williams came out and said, oh, those mistakes are never going to happen again. And we'll see it. We'll wait. We have to see to believe it. Yeah, we have to see. Because I can tell you those mistakes are going to happen again.
I'm going to lay off this game. I'm not going to bet this game, but I do think the Jets are the side, if you are going to bet.
Texans are at the Jaguars. Jags -1.5 up on FanDuel. Total of 44.5. I don't agree. I feel like the Texans might be the other side of that teaser with the Patriots, pushing them up to 7.5.
Why are the Jaguars favored in this game? Have they proven any ability to close games out yet?
Nope.
They walk past Carolina week 1 in a thunderstorm game where they had to go in, come back out, and Carolina, as we see, is a sieve defensively. And last week, with a backup quarterback throwing picks all over the yard, couldn't close out Cincinnati, who has a terrible defense. You think they're going to close out Houston? Now, to be fair, Houston's defense has a lot to clean up. I don't like what I've seen defensively. Dead last in rushing success rate. That's surprising for Houston. But why is Jacksonville favored? What am I missing here?
Just the advanced numbers, I guess. I mean, if you look at EPA and all that stuff, like they do rank higher because, listen, their offense is performing well. They were in a position to win a game last week. And you agreed with the call to go for it, instead of kicking the field goal. So they were in a position there. And so would you feel differently about this team if they convert that first down or if they get a touchdown and they win convincingly?
Then they would deserve to be favored, but they couldn't. And then their defense folded like a tent. By the way, there might be people listening who are wondering why it was the right call. First of all, there's 2 reasons. One, if you pick it up, you win the game. Period. End of story. That's it. You're up 2 scores, or there's not enough time left for them to score. Because it was I think they had it inside the red zone at the time, or right around the red zone area. The second reason is if you kick the field goal to go up 6, you give the Bengals 4th down. You force them to go for it on 4th down. You give them an extra down. Whereas if you're up 3, they might just kick on fourth down to tie the
Yes.
game.
Yes.
And that desperation and knowing what you need actually gives the Bengals an advantage. And that's
Sure.
why analytics, I think it was a 6% downgrade in win probability if Liam Cohen kicked the field goal to go up 6. Now, people holding Jags plus 3.5 tickets, they hate to freaking hear it, me included, but it was the right call. So I can't really argue with it.
Yeah, I hated it because I had Jags 3.5 for sure.
Yeah.
But
But it
that's a
was the
huge.
right call. If I was the head coach, that's the call I would have made. If I wasn't holding a Jags plus 3.5 ticket. Now, if I
It's
was
a
coaching it squarely from Jags plus 3.5, I take the points, Liam, you dummy.
it's a huge point to make about knowing what you need because
Yes, people don't
people
understand that.
people think that fourth down decisions come down to fourth down. No, fourth down decisions come down to third down. Your third down play calling is affected if you know you're going for it on fourth down or not. So if you already know that, hey, I need to go for it on fourth down, I need the first down, the game's on the line. Well, your third down play is affected. Whereas if you have a field goal in your back pocket, I'm talking to you, Bo Nix, and you know that you're not going to go for it on fourth down because you're just going to kick a field goal because you're in chip shot field goal range. Well, then your third down play calling should be affected, and you shouldn't throw the ball into harm's way and throw an interception. So
100% correct. And
that's
also,
where,
if it's
yeah,
3rd and 4, you're more apt to run it
yeah,
because then you set up 4th and 2
yep,
or 4th and 1.
hmm
Whereas 3rd and 4, if you are in field goal territory and you already have the field goal in your back pocket, you might throw it in that scenario because you need the first down. It
yep.
is incredibly more advantageous for an offense to know they are down 6 and it's touchdown no matter what.
Let's move on to our next game. The Saints at the Seahawks. Seattle, a 7.5-point favorite. Have we seen anything from the Saints to believe that there's some fight in them in this game? Because I tell you what we have seen is Seattle's defense is for real.
That's what I see too. And I see Sam Darnold actually top 10 in success rate through 2 games. So we know the Saints love to run RPOs and the little short stuff with Rattler. He actually completed, I think, 75% last week against San Francisco. They were 3 for 3 in the red zone. That's why that game didn't stay under. I thought the Niners were going to get at least one stop in the red zone. They couldn't get one. I think Seattle will get one, probably multiple. And, right, like maybe we need to increase our priors on New Orleans because we were wrong about them. But everyone thought they were the worst team in the league coming into the year. They have not played like that. They haven't played like a bottom 5 team. They're kind of in the 20-22 range in terms of overall efficiency. So they're not great, but we thought they were a bottom feeder unit. Maybe this is the game, right? You have 2 games, cushy games at home. Now you go on the road to Seattle. We'll see what the weather's like. You're not going to be able to check with me at the line of scrimmage. The crowd's going to be going nuts. You get Rattler in this kind of dink and dunk offense, and I think Seattle's going to kind of take things away. Like, at 7, you find a 7 out there? I feel like this is a bet on Seattle for me.
It might also be a Saints team total under. We have the number 2 EPA per play defense in the Seahawks and the 5th worst EPA per play on offense in the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah.
This
You're
is
getting a discount, right? Look, that was 9. Now it's 7.
This is
I don't think
strength
the
on weakness
Saints
here.
play that much better.
This is strength on weakness here. So I might go with the Saints team total to go under.
I agree. I like that.
Broncos are at the Chargers. LA, 2.5-point favorites, total of 45.5. Short week coming off of the Monday night win, but they are home here against Denver, and it's a spot where Denver's coming off of a game that they should have won, but they lost. And Justin Herbert has looked good. He's using his legs a lot more, which is you got to be impressed with. A lot of hype around this team right now in LA as far as winning the division with the Chiefs being 0-2, as far as Super Bowl aspirations, the Harbaugh factor. This one's tough for me. I think it's going to be low scoring because we love both of these defenses. But then again, we saw the Broncos defense kind of get torched by Danny Dimes at times.
7.1 yards per play.
Terrible.
That's what the Broncos gave up last week.
Terrible.
I want to say it was a fluky result because of the penalty and because of all that noise, right? They did hold the Colts to 2 for 6 in the red zone, so they did bend but not break. So they were giving up a lot of yards, but they did a good job in the red zone. We're going to find out this week. Like, I think the Chargers kind of have skated by the first 2 weeks.
Hmm.
And it's tough to play 3 straight divisional games out of the gate. That's tough. That
Yeah,
is
good point.
tough to do. Very tough to do. And the third game against probably, maybe not. You can probably flip a coin, Chiefs or Broncos, better defense. I think Denver may be slightly ahead right now. Um, but I think both those defenses are obviously elite, top 10 type of units. But the third of the three being really the toughest defensive test, coming off a tough loss. I'll believe it when I see it with Herbert. It's been a nice
Okay.
2 weeks. Let's see him do it in January. But so far, he looks like the MVP so far.
Yeah. Total 45.5. Would you lean under?
Yeah. Divisional game, short
Yeah.
week. But the Chargers also threw the kitchen sink. I was really impressed with the Chargers defense last week. Way more impressed with their defense than I was with Herbert and the offense. I thought
Hmm.
their offense just kind of did what they had to do. They hit the one explosive, and that was kind of it. The defense, the thing I noticed if you watch tape from that Raiders game, Gino was clicking off his first and second reads consistently all night, which means the Chargers were taking away the primary and the
Right.
secondary
Yeah.
almost every single play. Like it was Gino back to pass, 1 click not there, 2 click not there, 3 click check down or sack. It was a really good performance, really well disciplined. Jesse Minter, great game plan. So if that Chargers defense is that good, we might have been a little wrong on this team not being a top 5 kind of team.
Okay, cool. Sure. Cardinals are at the 49ers. San Francisco -2.5. And no official word on the quarterback yet, but Brock Purdy is progressing through practice, believes that he has a chance to play. This line to me never made any sense when it was 1.5. It never made any sense where I believe it opened some places as Cardinals being favored. Mac Jones should be a 2.5 point favorite for the 49ers over the Cardinals. I don't care who's playing quarterback. The 49ers are making my card this week. They're winning this game. They're covering this game.
Yeah.
And if Brock Purdy plays, this line's going to go up. You're going to get a -3. You might even get a -3.5 because he's that significant to the line. Actually, he's worth more than that, but I don't think they'd be so
Yeah. I
drastic
have
as
him
to
worth
move
4
it too much.
points over Jones.
And I think that already moving from the 1.5 to the 2.5 is the anticipation of Purdy likely playing. So that's why I think going then cross the 3 to the 3.5, I think is the most move that you're going to get because it's actually
Agreed.
going from 1.5 to 3.5 actually with Purdy.
Agreed.
So
Let me correct myself. I have Purdy 2 points worse with the shoulder injury.
yeah,
And I downgraded him a point because of the injury. So I really have a 3 point delta between those two guys when Purdy is 100%. He's obviously
okay,
not 100%. He's coming back
sure.
early from a shoulder and a toe injury. He's clearly less than 100%. This feels like an under game, right? You let Purdy hit the screen. Maybe he doesn't, but let's say he does. I'm seeing a 46.5 out there. Maybe you get a 47. I think this Arizona defense has not shown you their best stuff yet. I think they're a really good defense. I think Gannon's a really good coach. I think he's a coach of the year candidate. Now, maybe they can't go on the road and beat San Francisco. Maybe they can. This would be a really fun game. But I do think defensively, they're going to bring you their best stuff in this game. They quit in the second half of that game against Carolina. They're not going to have that luxury in this particular spot. And the Niners defense we know is much better. And their red zone numbers, they gave up 3 touchdowns on 3 red zone trips last week against New Orleans. Very hard to maintain that. Usually you're about 30, 40% touchdown percentage in the red zone, maybe a little higher depending on how good you are running it. But I feel like the Niners defense is legit. I think 47 is too high of a total for this kind of divisional matchup, I think, with the less than 100% Purdy.
I'm on the 49ers. Their defense has been so great. I think there's too much respect given for the Cardinals being 2-0. They've beaten nobody. They've played arguably the 2 worst teams in the league. So I'm not going to rush to say the Cardinals are 2-0. They're playing great. Look at their numbers. Look at how good their defense is. Okay. Talk to me when they play a competent opponent. So I think that it's smoke and mirrors right now with the Cardinals. I'm not buying into it against the Cardinals and the Saints. Give me the 49ers here, minus the 2.5. I'm going to get at it now before any Purdy news comes out and this thing goes beyond 3. And if it's not Purdy, I'm still fine with it because Mac Jones is very, very serviceable and has shown it. And the key for me is the 49ers defense. So San
I think
Francisco
Purdy's
minus
going to
2.5.
play. Market doesn't get this stuff wrong too often, like we said earlier with, I think it was the Jaden Daniels situation.
Mm-hmm. All right,
But I think he's going to be less than 100%.
A lot of people are focused on this game and are very intrigued by this line. The Dallas Cowboys 1.5 point favorites at the Chicago Bears. What do you think?
My first gut instinct is the look ahead total was 46. Now we're up to 50.
Mm-hmm.
And we're starting to get into that. Okay, you really trust these two quarterbacks to be elite in the red zone and get you all those points? And obviously the defenses last week were disgustingly bad, awful.
Mm-hmm.
But if I am, to me, I love playing unders the week after an NFL team gets blown out, like really hellaciously blown out, because I think those practices are really tough.
Yeah, there's an
And I
emphasis on
think
defense for sure.
these are professional athletes. And I think some teams are really bad, but I don't think the Bears are that bad defensively where they're giving up 9 yards per play to the Lions. That was a perfect storm type of situation. Now you're outdoors. I heard there's going to be some wind and some possible weather in Chicago. You get this Dallas team that's been really good running it. Honestly, the Cowboys have been fantastic running the ball. Surprisingly, with Javonte Williams the first 2 weeks. And you got this Bears team that got torched last week. Cowboys secondary got torched last week. If I'm the defensive coordinator and I just got torched by Russell Wilson and Jared Goff, you know what I'm doing this week? Here's my cover 4 shell, and you can have all the short stuff all day long. Go run 10 to 12 plays, dink and dunk me. I'm not letting Malik Neighbors and Wan'Dale Robinson hit me for 50 or 60 on the explosives.
Yep.
You're going to have to earn it, Caleb Williams. You're going to have to earn it, Dak Prescott. Like, that's just my approach here. So when I see a 4-point adjustment on a total, you better score on every red zone trip. It better be 6 and not 3, because that's how games stay in the 40s when you've got two quarterbacks that I think are relatively average. So I would say under. As crazy as that sounds after what we saw from these two defenses last week, I think a 50 is a really high bar to clear in the NFL.
I was just trying to look up if your previous opponent scored 40 points or scored more than 40 points, what happens in the prior game, in the next game. And since 2021, 49-38 to the under. So
pretty good market analysis. Now here's the better follow-up question.
Mm-hmm.
Weeks 1 through 4, when the totals are very fluky, right? One game between Bears, Lions, Cowboys, Giants all of a sudden knocks a total from a 46 look ahead to a 50. That's a big move in 1 week for an NFL game. When the markets are still figuring out their sea legs, I think that under trend probably is even stronger.
Quite the opposite.
Interesting.
Week 4 and under, if your previous opponent scored 40 points or over 40 points, the next game 10-3 to the over. With an
wow.
But the average total in that is 46.7.
Okay, so it's the lower total game, the lower total teams.
So let's see if the
show me that trend
total is 50 or more
after. Yeah, with a total of 50 or higher, without the weeks, just on the total period.
Total of 50 or higher, 5-3 to the under.
Okay, 60%.
Yeah. It's interesting.
I listen. These games are fluky; they can bounce either way. But if I'm talking about it schematically, first of all, Dallas. Go look up who plays the most zone coverage in the NFL. It's Matt Eberflus, who's the coordinator of the Dallas Cowboys. So they got smoked last week. Perfect storm. Neighbors and Wan'Dale against the best deep ball thrower in the league. I think you're going to see too high, cover 4, conservative, the game plan. And you don't think Eberflus wants to go into Chicago and stick one his former team? I think this game's going to have some juice to it.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's going to have the same free-flowing nature that we saw both of these teams play last week in divisional games indoors. Now we're outdoors, bad weather Chicago, revenge game for a DC former head coach.
Not only does he want to stick it to them, but he wants to stick it to them to the point where he wants to show up Ryan Poles and them for saying, hey, you got rid of a defensive coach because you wanted to bring in an offensive coach and be flashy on offense and all this fun stuff. Look at what my defense just did to your offense, right? You couldn't score shit.
I love the under in this game now.
Yeah.
I don't like it now. I love the under in this game. I hope we get 51. Now, here's the thing about these unders. You wait. You don't bet them today. You're listening to this on a Friday. You bet it Sunday right before the game because everybody loves to bet the overs. But maybe we get a 51. Maybe not, but maybe we do.
If you don't, would you instead go Bears team total under?
Yeah, I think you're kind of splitting hairs in that scenario because I hate to be on the wrong side of the weird result.
All right.
I would rather capture the entire game. But yes, if you really want to find you've ever seen the movie Spaceballs? Comb the desert. Comb the desert. If you really want to fine tooth comb this thing, then yes, that's the angle you go. But I think the overall handicap is we are not going to see both of these teams give up 70. What was it? 71, 73 in one
Yeah.
game and 77 in the other. Yeah, I'll take the under for both of those score lines this week.
You think we're taking this too literally? No. He said comb the desert. We're combing the desert.
We ain't found shit. It's probably one of the best lines in that movie. There's another one coming out. I hope they don't ruin it.
I know. There's so many good lines in that movie. It literally,
it's a classic line.
It's one of my favorites. It's like it's so underrated.
It's a top 5 movie. It's a top 5 movie.
It's so underrated. I'm surrounded by assholes.
Oh God, I could quote that movie all day.
All right,
that'll be my thing now. I'm gonna try to find a Spaceballs quote to bring to every podcast now.
Perfect. Our final game, it is the Chiefs and the Giants, Sunday Night Football. Giants are 5.5-point home dogs. Total's 44.5. We're quoting FanDuel numbers here, right, on this game. And this is the game where I think it is going to be 100% of the bets on Chiefs money line. because
you don't think there's one poor soul out there that's going to bet the Giants?
I don't think there's one person that is going.
Not one guy.
With the points, maybe. But there's not one person that's betting the Giants on the money line because it's the whole idea of, and I know Don LaGreca on ESPN New York took some shit for this last week because he was like, he didn't say, he's like, call me a conspiracy theorist. The NFL's not letting the Chiefs get to 0-3, right? But I think that's with him saying that, part of it's hyperbole, but I do believe that the entire general NFL betting public believes that there's no way the Kansas City Chiefs are starting 0-3. And that it's a Sunday night primetime game. If there's one call that might go their way, everyone's going to bring it up.
I know. It's so stupid.
I would love for the Giants to win this game. I would love for the Giants to win this game. It would be amazing if the Giants won this football game. I just think that everybody is betting on the Kansas City Chiefs.
This feels like another good under game. What is it? We get the disgruntled defensive coordinator revenge game week, right? We get Eberflus in Chicago. We get Spags in the Giants. It's like a weird nexus in the universe this week. If you're a fired head coach, now he was the interim head coach, right? He had 2 stints with the Giants. They won the Super Bowl in 07, 08, I forget which year, but way back the first one with the Patriots, and they're undefeated. And then he had another stint with the Giants later where then he was the interim head coach. I think it was after McAdoo got fired. And then he got let go, and then he took the Chiefs job. And then since then, I think that was either 2018 or 2019. It's been obviously all sunshine and rainbows for Spags. But this is a really weird karma game for Spags, I think, because his team's not playing that well, or I guess maybe the record's not really reflecting it. And the Giants, man, that offensive trade. Listen, Russell Wilson, man, slinging it all over the yard last week. I think Spags wins this battle. I think you see a very different Giants offense this week.
All right, let's talk. If conspiracy theory number 1 is going to be the Kansas City Chiefs winning this football game because they're not going to go 0-3, my conspiracy theory number 2. Tyreek Hill goes back to the Kansas City Chiefs this year.
See, Hill actually and it's actually funny because, we're recording this on a Thursday night, so we're getting some of the post-game clippings from Thursday night. And I saw and I'm just going to read it because it was a really good quote. Underdog tweeted it. Tyreek Hill on the Dolphins head coach, Mike McDaniel. His piss was hot. The way he coached and the way he led men today was a beautiful thing. Again, I don't know what that means for what the Dolphins decide to do with him, but I do think the whole Mike McDaniel, he is a complete, imbecile. I don't think he is an imbecile. I just think when you're losing, the quirkiness is it's received differently. If you're winning, he's Mr. Cool. He can do no wrong. But when you're losing, everything gets magnified, and his quirkiness all of a sudden becomes a negative. It's like kind of, actually, I don't want to get into it, but it's a weird social, phenomenon where people like you if things are going well, even if you're weird. But if you're weird and things are going poorly, then all of a sudden you're the worst person on the planet. So I actually think McDaniel's somewhere in between. And if the Dolphins want any chance of competing this year or next year, you got to keep Tyreek Hill. I mean, you really do, or Waddle,
Yeah.
one of them. But yeah, we'll see. Depends on what kind of offer they get, I guess, is really the key.
That is going to be very interesting to watch to see how this season unfolds for the 0-3 now Miami Dolphins. You can always follow Jared Smith on Twitter at Jared Smith Bets. Make sure to catch his show 9 a.m. Saturday morning on Fox Sports Radio as he'll be previewing college football and the NFL. So you'll get that. I'll be on VSiN coming up Saturday night at 10 o'clock Eastern time with all of your NFL preview as well. And then during the Sunday night game as well, 7 o'clock Eastern time on Sunday with all your Sunday night live bet sweats coming your way. You can hit me up on Twitter at Scott's On Air. Make sure that you subscribe to Better Day to get the daily newsletter emailed to you right into your inbox. And we are working on some things as far as the website goes. I've had a lot of good meetings this week, Jared. I'll just leave it at that. Some
Oh boy,
contributions,
meetings are good.
some possible collaborations, and maybe even some extra value provided to you guys, the viewers, the readers, the audience, the followers, that we will be getting to you on a weekly basis. So we look forward to that. We appreciate you joining us and subscribing to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts from. Leave us a little rating and review. And here's hoping you make today and every day a better day.